guys, welcome back to another video. In today's episode, we'll be providing a brief Gameweek 25 review as well as revealing our plans for Gameweek 26 to wildcard or not to wildcard. We will be revealing some drafts as well as how to guide you to navigate from Gameweek 26 until Gameweek 30. However, before we do, please remember to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. We will really appreciate it. Also feel free to follow us on Twitter at FPL_A+. Today's FPL trivia question is as follows. Which player has the most yellow cards until Gameweek 25? The three options are A. Gabriel, B. Paulinho, C. Ivan Toney. Stay tuned, the answer will be revealed at the end of this video. Carry on with our Gameweek 25 review. At the back in goal, Kepa Arrizabalaga failed to keep a clean sheet and only managed a 1-point score. In defense, Tyrone Mings had a solid performance with a clean sheet, a bonus point and 7 points. Nathan Akai carried on the defensive performance of his teammates with a 6-point score after keeping a clean sheet. Ben White managed a double clean sheet with a haul of 13 points over the 2 games. Unfortunately, Tarkowski managed a grand total of 0 points over 2 game weeks as he failed to keep a clean sheet as well as earning a yellow card. Midfield, the star of the game week was Bukayo Saka, who managed a haul of 30 points as our captain. Mo Salah came late to the party with an 11-point score after scoring for Liverpool. Andreas blanked for a 1-point score. Up front, Erling Haaland carried on his excellent season with another 10-point score. Darwin Núñez unfortunately blanked for a 2-point score. Nketiah scored an assist for a 5-point score. Overall, our team managed a very respectable 86 points compared to the average of 74 points. This was a slight red arrow though, as it was a very high scoring game week. However, we are still very happy to have a rank of 46,918 after 25 game weeks, which is amongst more than 11 million FPL managers in the world. This is the latest FPLA Super League standings. In first place, we have got Dennis Kuswanda. Well done, Dennis, coming back into the first spot. We've got in second place, we've got Arnav Garg with a massive total of 99 points. Well done, Arnav. In third place, we've got yours truly. In fourth place, we've got Jonathan FPL Jonas. In fifth place, we've got Mebdi Mohammed Amar. Sixth place, we've got Daniel Kojo Frupmong. In seventh place, we have got Piyush Singla. Eighth place, we've got James Light. And then we've got 3 people tied in ninth place. We've got Fred Juma, Michael Horgan, and Rono Norman. Well done to everyone that's made it into the FPLA Plus top 10. Those that are not yet there but are close, keep on pushing and your time will be there soon. This is the current Gameweek 26 to Gameweek 38 landscape in terms of fixtures, courtesy of Ben Crellin. If you aren't following him yet, please follow him at Brent Crellin on Twitter, and he does some sterling work. And in summary, we have got Gameweek 26, which has got a full set of fixtures. Gameweek 27, we have got, as you can see in yellow, we've got double game weeks for Brentford, Brighton, Crystal Palace as well as Southampton. Crystal Palace and Southampton are not really fixtures that many managers will target. Brentford and Brighton, they have some good fixtures and some good players that will most likely be targeted by many FPL managers. Gameweek 28, as you can see in the brownish color, those teams are blanking, and that would be Brighton, Fulham, Liverpool, Manchester City and Manchester United. And then game week 29 is a big game week. It's a double game week. All the teams that are doubling, they are in yellow, and they are Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Leeds, Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest and West Ham. That's a massive amount of double game weeks. However, keep in mind also that there are still single game week teams as well, and teams such as Arsenal and Manchester City should also not be ignored, as they could have players that could still do well in those matches. So game week 29 you definitely want to target. Game week 30 and 31 at this stage, they don't have any major blanks or doubles. That could still change as things evolve. Game week 32, there could be a potential blank or two in game week 32, and then game week 34 is likely to be initially it was supposed to be a very big double game week. However, at this stage it looks like it's probably going to be a medium-sized double game week, similarly with game week 37. Normally where there are big double game weeks, those are the most appropriate to potentially play a chip, whether it be a wild card or a bench boost. So at this stage the thoughts are that game week 34 was initially considered by many managers to be a good bench boost option. However, with game week 29 now coming on the horizon as a massive double game week, albeit not with all very top teams, it is still a very optimal game week to potentially bench boost. So have a look at your team and whether you are in a position to be able to navigate through game week 26 to game week 30, because that's quite key. If you are not able to, it might be a wise idea to potentially play your wild card if you've got your wild card, and consider playing your bench boost in game week 29, unless you prefer to play it in game week 34, alternatively in game week 37. These are currently some key players and essential players, many of them would be, for FPL managers that are considering to wildcard in game week 26. On the left hand side we've got the names of the teams that will be targeted. We've got Brentford. They most likely will have their defense that will be targeted in the game week 26 wildcard team. So Raya, me, Henry, Pinnock will all be quite popular. Tony would also be very popular for attacking threat, and then a differential would be Mbeumo. Brighton, Sanchez, Estupinian and Dunk in defense. Midfielders, McAllister, March and Matoma. Most managers will play two of those midfielders, and if you're looking for a differential, Ferguson, who's the forward. Arsenal, Gabriel and Zinchenko in defense would be very popular, and then midfielders, as Arsenal are a very attacking team, Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli. And if you really want to punt, then Trossard would be quite a good punt, as he's been in great form. Manchester City, not many options at this stage given rotation, as well as Pep Roulette, and also due to Manchester City not doubling at this stage. However, Erling Haaland, he is the machine, and many managers will still prefer to keep him in their team. If you're looking for a differential, someone who's been recently on form, it's Phil Foden. Newcastle, in defense, you can't go wrong with Trippier. And then if you're looking for a cheap alternative as well, then Botman and Schur, they definitely offer viable entries into the Newcastle defense. The alternative option that's a little bit more costly would be Nick Pope, but he's quite a solid keeper. In Manchester United, the midfielder that's been setting the Premier League alight is Marcus Rashford. He'll be in most managers' teams, if not already in their teams. And then if you're looking for another form player, Bruno Fernandes would also be an option. Tottenham Hotspur, only one noteworthy option at this stage, and that is the consistent Harry Kane. Looking at Chelsea options at this stage, the goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga, and then in defence we've got Reece James. If you're looking for a punt, then Joao Felix has looked quite good, and he could be a good option if you're looking for a differential. Aston Villa, Ollie Watkins has been in sublime form, and he would be a great punt if you're looking to actually bring in someone in Gameweek 26 or even subsequently. And then Leicester, they have got some great fixtures coming up a bit later, and their options that you could consider would be Maddison, and then Barnes, who's also having a great season. This is our current Gameweek 26 plan, keeping in mind that we have the current team. Should we wildcard or should we not wildcard? So this is the current Gameweek 26 team. We'll just illustrate how we assess whether we should be playing a wildcard or not by navigating our possible transfers from Gameweek 26 to Gameweek 30, which is the main period for the blanks and the double game weeks. So firstly, starting off with Gameweek 26, we've got Kepa's got a good fixture against Leeds, White decent against Bournemouth, Akai, Newcastle. The main question is whether he will start or not, and because that's the first fixture of the game week, there is a possibility that there could be early team news. Tarkowski against Nottingham Forest. On paper that seems a reasonable fixture, however keep in mind that Nottingham Forest at home often are quite pumped up with a crowd behind them, so it might not necessarily be the easiest of fixtures. And memories of Tarkowski scoring as a grand total of 0 points in the double game week is still quite fresh. Then we've got 4 players from the Manchester United Liverpool match: Rashford, Salah, Fernandes and Darwin. That's not really ideal. This could be quite a cagey affair. So ideally you'd want 1 to 2 players so that you can maximize the other fixtures. And then we've got the nuance of Nketiah. He hasn't been starting recently, he's been coming off the bench, and he's also yellow flagged, so that's not the best. Then we've got Haaland, quite happy to have him against Newcastle, also keeping in mind that that is a home fixture. On the bench we've got Ward, that's pretty decent as a backup cover. Then we've got Trippier, been a star for the team, on the bench only because he's got a tough fixture against Manchester City and we expect him to score. Then we've got Mings and Andreas, who are the weaklings of the team currently. Then navigating to Gameweek 27. Keep in mind Gameweek 27 is the game week where we've got Brentford and Brighton that have got double game weeks, and in order to maximize them, many FPL managers on the wildcard would have preloaded Brentford and Brighton players, so we would need to bring them in order to counter and in order to maximize their potential points. So carrying forward a free transfer and then making 4 transfers for a -8. We bring in we've got Raya, we've got me, and we've got Matoma and Tony. Many FPL managers will most likely be having another 2 of these double game week players. They'll most likely be having another Brighton midfielder, as well as another Brentford defender. So the main question is whether the -8 firstly is worth it, combined with who the replacements are instead of another Brentford defender who plays Everton and Southampton. Is it possible they could get a double clean sheet? They could definitely, versus Trippier, who has got 1 fixture against Wolves. So that's a possible win for the wildcarders. And then we've got Matoma, but the other midfielders that wildcarders could have could be McAllister, who's been quite popular, and they possibly won't have Fernandes. So McAllister against Leeds and Crystal Palace, could he outscore Fernandes against Southampton? That's a possibility, but I wouldn't say it is it's quite certain. There is a chance that McAllister could get 2 3-pointers and Fernandez could get a goal and an assist against Southampton quite easily. So yeah, that one could, I believe, could go either way. So overall, it's really the -8, I would say. That's the real cost, because the players on the pitch, they would cancel each other out for those two differentiators to the wildcarders. Okay, then moving on to Gameweek 28. So Gameweek 28, keep in mind, is the blank game week, so we need to make 2 transfers, Salah out and Maddison in, Matoma out and Almiron in. Okay, and the bench, star-studded bench with Haaland, Rashford and Fernandez. Then we've got Raya, White, Mings, Trippier, me, Tarkowski against Chelsea. That's going to be a tough one. That's probably the one outlier in the team. Almiron against Nottingham Forest, Maddison against Brentford, assuming he's still fit to play. Then we've got Saka, Nketiah, that's another nuance in the team, and Tony. So the 2 main nuances are Tarkowski and Nketiah against the wildcarders, who most likely will be having someone like Kane in their team, and they would possibly be having someone like Estupiñán or another Brentford defender. So you would most likely say that the wildcarders would probably be up on that, and there's an additional 4-point hit that we've also got to take to field 11 players. So Gameweek 28 seems to be probably won by the wildcarders. Then let's move over to Gameweek 29. Gameweek 29, we've got 1 transfer that we've made. Get rid of Nketiah to Iheanacho, because he's got a double game week and Nketiah is not certain to start, and Jesus is also looming in the wings to get back to full fitness and to start again for Arsenal. So overall, let's see how much double game weekers do we have for Game Week 29. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So those are 10 out of 11 starters, and then on the bench we've got Raya, who could also be part of a bench boost, and Saka. Okay, however, because we have got 2 single game week players that are not elite players, White and Tarkowski, it doesn't seem optimal to play our bench boost. The wildcarders will most likely be playing their bench boost in this game week, so they would have an additional 2, 4, 6, 6 to 8 fixtures, I would say, on their bench. So you would say the wildcarders would most likely win this, unless you've got a differential that outweighs the wildcarders. However, there's not many players that we can foresee that will likely be able to push over and above the wildcard team. So this game week on its own makes it quite tough not to wildcard if you look at the difference to the wildcard team. Then just maneuvering through to Game Week 30. Game Week 30, we'll start Ward against Bournemouth. Mings has got a decent fixture at home against Nottingham Forest. White, tough one against Liverpool. Trippier, Maddison, Fernandez, who's got a good fixture. Saka against Liverpool. Rashford against Everton. We've got Haaland, great fixture against Southampton. Watkins against Nottingham Forest, he's our transfer in. And Iheanacho against Bournemouth. Then on the bench we've got Raya, Almiron, me and Tarkowski. So Tarkowski, I would say, and me, they are probably players that we'd want to get out in the short to medium term. So that's Game Week 30. Overall, compared to the wildcard team, it probably won't be too far off. Game Week 30 is not really the major issue. In actual fact, Game Week 30, it could potentially even beat the wildcard team. However, the main issue is that in order to get to this team, we needed to take a -12 hit, whereas wildcarders most likely won't be taking any hits. And the quality of the team, one would say, not necessarily has the best mix. There were certain compromises that we needed to make. So besides the -12, we could lose out for some of our starters further points. And then also another factor is that our team is not optimally set up to utilize a bench boost in Gameweek 29, which could be quite a viable option for many FPL managers. However, that shouldn't be the decisive factor, as non-wildcarders could alternatively look at another game week in order to bench boost. The main question that you've got to ask is the hits that you are taking now, will you be able to make that up when you are wildcarding? So that's quite tricky. At this stage, we are possibly favoring wildcarding. So next we'll actually show you what is our wildcard team if we had to compare two options. So firstly, on the left hand side, we have got wildcard plan number 1, which is on the left. On the right, we have got wildcard plan number 2. The teams that are starting are very similar. The main differences are that we've got Estupiñán and Raya versus Henry and Sanchez. That's the main combination difference, and we'll explain it to you when we get to a later game week, the reason for the difference. The other minor change is we have got Matoma in team 1 and we've got Marsh in team 2. So overall the team is as follows: Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, Gabriel, followed by Estupiñán and me, McAllister, Saka, Odegaard, Rashford, Tony, Kane and Haaland. Quite a solid team. Team number 2 is exactly the same, besides the main difference that we mentioned earlier. Gameweek 27. Gameweek 27 is a double game week for Brentford and Brighton. We've got 1, 2, 3 Brighton players and 1, 2, 3 Brentford players. So 6 players that we can maximize our double game week. Only problem is we've needed to bench Odegaard and Gabriel, which doesn't seem to be the most optimal, but you've got to play the fixtures and you've got to favor a double game week player over a single game week player. Then team number 2, quite similarly set up, also with 6 double game weekers, with the main difference being Sanchez and Henry that are starters. Okay, then moving on to game week 28. This is the blank game week. So in order to utilize a transfer, what we did was Haaland doesn't play, so we took out Haaland and brought in Watkins, who's got a great fixture against Bournemouth. You'll note that everybody plays except Estupiñán, so that gives us another consideration. Do we actually transfer him out and then bring in another player that plays? The only problem is that in the next game week, Estupiñán's got a double game week. So if we're transferring him out and in, it's effectively costing us -8, which is not really very optimal. So for now, the best would be to keep Estupiñán within your team and rather let him blank. The alternative option is in the second team. In the second team, you would note that we've actually got every single player that's actually playing, and the main reason for that is that instead of Estupiñán, we've actually got another Brentford defender who starts, so that gives you an extra player, which could be worthwhile. It depends if you think the Henry and Sanchez combination is actually better than the Estupiñán and rare combination, despite the fact that you lose out on a fixture. Okay, so that's game week 28. Game week 29, you've actually got Raya in goal versus Kepper. Both have got a double game week. Okay, you've got every single member of your defense that's got a double game week. It's exactly the same in team number 2. In midfield, you've got all doublers. Up front, you've got 2 out of 3 doublers, Kane being the only non-doubler, so 10 out of 11 doubles. On the bench, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 doublers, and exactly the same on team number 2. And this is for a -4. You will basically be playing 14 double game weekers plus Kane. So you've got 14 times 2, which is 28 plus 1, 29 fixtures. If each of them returns only 2 points, which obviously won't be the case, let's take that up to 4 points on average. That would give you over 100 points. So this is most likely a possibility that this game week could be quite a high scoring game week. So that this in itself looks actually quite healthy. If you're looking at the fixtures and you're looking at the matchups, it does look like quite an enticing option. And this is one of the main reasons behind potentially considering to wildcard, as you are able to maximize your team's potential and go for the high upside. However, quite important also to make sure that the way we come out of game week 29, out of game week 30 is also quite crucial. As game week 30, Haaland has got quite a great fixture against Southampton away. That screams a haul all over it, and you would want to bring Haaland back. So we are bringing in one transfer, and the transfer is Tony out, who plays Newcastle, and he might have either experienced his ban or his sentence already by then, or potentially gotten his yellow card ban. So that transfer is a transfer waiting to be made. And if there's one thing you need to consider how you structure your team, make sure you've got enough money in the bank to bring Haaland back, because remember, many FPL managers would have bought Haaland at a much less price if you got him early in the season. He's gone up now in value, so you would need to dish out that difference. So you need to make sure, if this is quite tight, if this is sitting at, for instance, 0.1 million, I would suggest you try to downgrade somewhere else, as there's likely to be price rises in your team, and that 0.1 million could potentially go not only to 0, but it could price you out, and then you might just miss out to bring in Haaland via 0.1 million or 0.2 million, which is the worst scenario you could be faced with in FPL. So that's how we come out on the other side, game week 30. Looking at Kepper in goal, we've got Trippier, Botman, Shaw, Maddison, Rashford, McAllister, Fernandes, Watkins, Haaland, and Kane. All have great fixtures. The only tough one could potentially be McAllister. So without taking a hit, we've got quite a solid team. The only reservation about this team is that if we have a look at players or teams that we don't have any Arsenal players in this team, but you can't have them all. We could eventually navigate to bring in Arsenal players, potentially taking out Fernandes or Maddison, and then balancing it to make sure that we've got a spread of the core key players that you require for FPL. Okay, so that's a comparison between non-wildcarding your team versus wildcarding your team. How does your comparison look like? Are you going to be wildcarding, or is your team reasonably well set up to navigate game week 26 to game week 30? This is how our current Gameweek 26 team is likely to look like. In goal we've got Kepa Arrizabalaga. In defense we've got Zinchenko. We've also got me and Henry. In midfield we've got Saka, Odegaard, Rashford and McAllister. Our forward line is Erling Haaland, Harry Kane and Ivan Toney. On the bench we've got Sanchez, Trippier, Botman and Mitoma. The team value of this team is 99.9 million with 3.7 million in the bank. Alternative options for the current players that we could reassess. Odegaard, we could potentially replace him with Martinelli. Odegaard has got more of an assist threat but has also got the occasional goal threat. Martinelli has been in brilliant form recently on a hot streak and he's got the slight bit more higher attacking threat. However, the one concern is that if Jesus comes back, then between Martinelli and Trossard they could potentially rotate. So the question is, do we play the higher upside potentially currently and then transfer out Martinelli at a later stage when he becomes a rotation threat? Or do we stick with Odegaard and keep him throughout the rest of the season? The other option that we could reassess is, instead of Henry, we could bring in Estupiñán. Estupiñán is definitely much more attacking than Henry and plays for a much more attacking team, and he often bombs up front with his crosses and has also got some good potential goal threat. The only issue with bringing in Estupiñán, it means that we would have another Brighton player, which would mean we would need to swap our Brighton goalkeeper, and that would most likely be for a Brentford goalkeeper. That would be Raya, which is fine. The issue lies more so that Estupiñán would not be able to play in blank game week 28 as he blanks, whereas Henry does not. So the question is Henry worth the extra fixture over Estupiñán's extra attacking threat? Our Gameweek 26 captaincy armband is currently on Bukayo Saka with the vice captaincy on Erling Haaland. This is quite a close call this game week. However, at this stage we are strongly favouring Bukayo Saka as he's playing at home against a Bournemouth team that are not in the best of form, and Bukayo Saka has been on a very hot streak recently. However, we could reassess this. Other captaincy options that you could consider as well include Marcus Rashford, that's been having the season of his life. That's it for the Game Week 26 video. To end off, we've got an answer to our FPL trivia question. The question that we had earlier asked was, which player has the most yellow cards until Game Week 25? We had three options. Option A was Gabriel, option B was Paulinho, option C was Ivan Toney. Did you get this answer correct? Please comment down below if you did. The answer to this question is Paulinho. Paulinho has received 10 yellow cards up until Game Week 25. He's currently serving a suspension. He is followed by Ivan Toney with 8 yellow cards, and Gabriel is quite far behind. He is currently only on 4 yellow cards. That's it for this Game Week 26 video. We hope you found this quite useful. All the best for Game Week 26. Just make sure that you carefully decide if you are wildcarding or not, and if you are, make sure that you have got a rough plan in place for Game Week 26 to Game Week 30. All the best for Game Week 26. Wishing you big green arrows. Until next time, cheerio.